the Flex Zone, episode 389. Keeping the others in line. Only place giving you sports how you want it when you need it. Big show tonight. Another illustrious guest steps into the man cave. We're talking about Odell Beckham Jr. becoming a Raven. Does this ultimately mean Lamar Jackson stays in Baltimore this season? And of course, less than 24 hours away from the tip-off of the NBA play-in. And of course, this weekend, the NBA playoffs. We're breaking it all down for you. It's Flex Zone Podcast. Only place giving you sports how you want it when you need it. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that bell. Vote on the poll. Let us know your thoughts about the Odell Beckham signing. You like it, you love it, you hate it. Is it mid? We'll talk about that and so much more here on the Flex Zone Podcast. That's right. The Flex Zone Podcast, only place giving you sports how you want it, fellas.
When you need it.
Breaking the internet harder than a FaceTime between Lamar Jackson and Odell Beckham Jr. Speaking of setting your Easter off right, it was the only way to close it out. Here on the Flex Zone, episode 389, keeping them in line, much like the tribal chief Roman Reigns. You guys know the vibes. The Flex Zone 1 on Twitter and Instagram. Flex Zone Podcast on TikTok. You can donate to that cash at the Flex Zone 1 and always. Go ahead and join the fun by super chatting us here on the YouTube. And of course, as always, hit that bell, hit the like button, vote on the poll, let us know your thoughts. And of course, you want to be a guest at theflexzone1@gmail.com. Ideas, any other obligations we have for you. Tonight, we're talking about Odell. We're talking about Lamar. We're breaking down the play-in and giving our preview for the NBA playoffs. And then, is this the most wide open season in NBA history? And of course, we have an illustrious guest who will set the party off right. God's favorite host here. You guys know the vibes. Can't do this show alone. We start things off by introducing my social media guy, social media producer, guy who sets all these things up. You guys know him. You guys love him. It is Big Rod.
Finish him, Daddy.
I'm going to finish baby. Roger's going to finish him. Matter of fact, pull that graphic up real quick. Hit that graphic of my name real quick.
I got you, brother. I got you.
Yes.
There you go.
There you go. Roger's here.
The Meat Daddy
is in the building. So stay tuned. We have a great guest coming on, and I'm going to finish him like I always do. So please stay tuned for more, because your boy Roger's here.
Finish him, Daddy.
And I'm going to finish him.
This next man, he is the captain of the Goofy ship, but most importantly, he is the Commandalorian himself, and this is definitely the way, baby.
Those haters can't stand us.
You know the vibe. Every week, there you go.
Commanders. We fight for RDC. Who are we? The Commanders.
Cravante, where you at, baby? This is your intro song, brother. Each and every week, you know the vibes, brother.
I need to come on after this, so then, because this ain't it.
You're looking real light-skinned this week. I like the vibes, by the way.
I don't know how to take that, brother. I don't know how to take that. But Monday nights, here we go again, and here goes Byron again with the goofy intro. I can't believe this is starting to stick.
Yes.
But let's check this out. Even after we get this team sold, I might join in that week. I just might join in that week. But y'all guys, man, let's get it going.
This next man, he is a tribal chief. He is the Flex Zone Messiah. He is the super producer, man with 1,000 nicknames. He is the man that makes your Easter dinner complete, because you show up with him, your date just goes up to a whole nother level. He is Drizzy Dre. He's the man that can make it to club and still make it to church on time. Proud of the East Side, Savior, Misbehavior, Mr. 25-8. And the man who's looking real good right now. Not only does he have Lamar's back, looks like he got his other light-skinned brother, Odell, to come here to Baltimore, baby. It is my boy, Drizzy Dre. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's going on, brother Byron? And man, yeah, Team Light Skin, we back, baby. You already know what it is. I see, I see Cravante joining us slowly but surely.
Wow.
Hey, let's not mess around any longer. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Make sure y'all hit the like button, hit the bell, subscribe, vote on the poll. Let us know your thoughts. We got another illustrious guest joining us here on the
Yes.
Flex Zone podcast. He's been trying to get in for a minute. First of all, this brother let us take over his show. So the inmates were running the asylum on WEAA. We didn't get fined, Dre. We didn't. You didn't lose your job, so I think we're good, right? We might be able to do it again.
I think we did a good job. Yeah.
This next man, he hosts two-way talk on WEAA. You can hear him each and every day. He's a sports aficionado. He talks all things sports. He's joining us here on the Flex Zone podcast for the first and hopefully not the last time. Everybody in the chat, drop those hand clap emojis. Give it up for our boy, our brother, Flex Zone family member, Gabe Ortis. Gabe, what's up, brother?
Hell of an intro there, gentlemen. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And by the way, on two-way talk, it's always an inmate running the asylum. Make no mistake about that. It's always an inmate running the asylum, man.
Hey, we appreciate you, Gabe, man. For those who don't know who you are, let them know who you are, how they can listen to your show and keep up with you each and every day, my brother.
So if you want to tune into the show, it's super easy because we're on 5 days a week, 2 hours a day, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. So when you're driving home from work, when you're going to pick the kids up from school, whatever it may be, you can go check us out over there on Two Way Talk. We actually had Dre stepping in to produce today, and he hopped on the mic earlier. So you might get a Dre Mountain Tribal Chief appearance whenever you tune in on Two Way Talk. If you can't make it to the radio, WEAA.org. We also live stream all the shows over there. So go check us out again, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. So any time of the week, we're there for you.
Hey, we appreciate you being on. Everybody in the chat saying hello. They loving you here in the building. Dre, you want to kick it off with your brother?
Yes. I mean, let's get right to it, man. You earlier, me and you discussed OBJ. How are you feeling about the Ravens getting OBJ at least for a year?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of positive and a lot of negative to this, right? Now, don't let the name on the back of the jersey fool you. This is classic Baltimore Ravens signing a injured and old wide receiver, trying to kick the tires to see if they got 1 or 2 more pop seasons left in them. And there's a spectrum of how that goes, right? On one end of the spectrum, you have Steve Smith Sr., you have Anquan Bolden, even Derek Mason, right? I mean, guys who the Ravens decided to take a chance on when nobody else wanted to, and they ended up giving them those 1 or 2 seasons of pop. 2014, Steve Smith, 1,000-yard season. Baltimore Ravens made it to the divisional game, and honestly, could have beat Tom Brady in that divisional game if they didn't let up 2 14-score leads that they had. But don't send me down that rabbit hole right now. And obviously, Anquan Bolden, they go and they win the Super Bowl with in 2012. But on the other side of that spectrum, you got guys like Michael Crabtree. You got guys like Sammy Watkins. You got guys like Jeremy Maclin. Right. I mean, you got guys like Deshaun Jackson last season who didn't even make it through the full year. So where is Odell Beckham Jr. going to land on that spectrum? And I think that's the question that a lot of Ravens fans should be asking right now, because for all the celebrity status, for all the insane highlight reels, for all the passion and the attitude that OBJ brings, he's a 31-year-old wide receiver who's blown out the same knee twice, hasn't played football in a year. And the last time we saw him on a field was scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl, but it was also him taking a non-contact injury to that same knee. So there's a lot of different ways that this could go in terms of on the field, right? And I mean, I'm hoping as a Ravens fan, as a Baltimore native, that this is closer to the Steve Smith Sr. and Anquan Bolden side of the spectrum, as opposed to the Michael Crabtree and Jeremy Maclin side of the spectrum. But it's kind of a wait and see thing. But when you look at the figures of the deal, right, and I'm sure we're going to get into this in a bit, but $15 million guaranteed, up to $18 million with incentives, that is a steep price, to say the least, for the guy who I just described, with all the takeaways and pros that I just described. So you have to imagine the Ravens are at least a little bit comfortable with where his knee's at, a little bit comfortable with where his overall health is at. Because, I mean, you're not going to give $18 million for 1 year of service if you're not confident that guy's going to be there for all 17 games. So I think there are pros. I think there are cons that we can dig into here.
But my question is, are you happy, though? Are you happy?
I think that the team is better today than it was on Saturday. And I think that's a good thing. And so here's one of the big positives that I look at this. This was a win now move by the Baltimore Ravens front office. And that's what makes me the most happy about it, is that the Baltimore Ravens said, who's the best guy available right now? It was Odell Beckham Jr. For everything I just said, Odell is absolutely the best guy on the market. They said, let's go get him. It doesn't matter if we have to overpay. It doesn't matter if he's only here for a year. Let's just go get our guy. And that's something that the Baltimore Ravens are not used to doing, or not comfortable doing. So to see them kind of step outside their comfort zone and make a win now wide receiver based move, I'm really, really happy to see that. And I think that's my biggest takeaway. It's going to be hard to judge before I see Odell out there. We haven't seen him play a snap of football in over a year. So am I happy? Absolutely. But is this on the caliber of bringing in a DeAndre Hopkins or a guy of that caliber? I'm not willing to go that far yet.
Now, when you said that this is a win now move, we have Lamar on a franchise tag. We have Odell for 1 year. Do you see them both staying, or do you think that this is the end of the road for both Lamar Jackson and OBJ?
Well, I mean, it depends on how the year goes, right? Because if you look at what Odell Beckham Jr. Sorry about that. I got an antsy cat in the room. I mean, it kind of depends on how the season goes, right? Because this was absolutely a Lamar-driven move by the Ravens front office. There's zero doubt about that. For the amount of money that they gave to a wide receiver, I remind you again, a position that they have never given any respect or any attention towards, to pay this much money and then to just days later see OBJ and Lamar Jackson posting pictures on Instagram together, up in the club together, I assume somewhere in South Florida. I mean, clearly Lamar Jackson had a huge role to play in this, and we're getting reports today from Ian Rappaport over on NFL Network that Lamar Jackson was pivotal in recruiting OBJ. And on top of that, OBJ got assurances from the Ravens front office that Lamar Jackson would be the quarterback in 2023. So, and I've been on this soapbox, Dre has seen me on Two-Way Talk a lot, that I feel like since Lamar has gotten drafted to the Ravens, when it comes to big team decisions, they've never really chosen Lamar, right? They've seemed to really have pitched their wagon to Greg Roman for the first 4 years. And I mean, Lamar Jackson can't even get a true wide receiver number one, but Greg Roman has 2 fullbacks and 6 tight ends on the roster. Like, that's choosing Greg Roman and his philosophy over what Lamar Jackson wants. And I feel like this season, now that Lamar actually had the option to go out and see the market, they said, we have to choose Lamar or we're going to lose this guy. So they brought in the wide receiver who he clearly wanted. I mean, I honestly think more than anybody else, the excitement that we've seen from Lamar already is more than we've seen in quite some time from that young man, both on and off the field. So I think that while it's too soon to say what 2024 holds, I think Lamar Jackson is the most excited about being a Baltimore Raven in 2023 that he has the entire offseason. And maybe you could even say since 2022 started.
Gabe, I want to ask you about the Todd Monken hire. We're kind of split up here. I really like the hire.
Sure.
Some of us up here are a little wait and see. But Odell played with Todd Monken. He put up his best season probably since he was a Giant with Todd Monken. They spread the ball around with Todd Monken. You think about now, Odell, Andrews, Bateman, J.K. Dobbins healthy, Edwards. You got the offensive line is one of the better ones in the league. I mean, this offense, if Greg Roman's the OC, Odell's not coming here. So you got to like the idea of Todd Monken's offense. And you got to think they're going to throw the ball, much like we've seen with a lot of other teams. And you got to think they're going to be competing and being able to put up a lot of points.
I mean, I think that's kind of the goal, right? They hit a bit of a wall last season, and I think they reached a bit of a come to Jesus moment where it was like, okay, our defense is playing so good that we just need to score 20 points a game, and we'll win just about anybody we play on our schedule last year. And they were failing to do that, right? They were losing games 13-17, lost 13-3 to the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland, lost what 16-13 against the Pittsburgh Steelers at home in your last home game of the season. So I think that they reached a point where if we don't do anything, then it's our fault at that point, right? And when you look at Todd Monken, here's the thing I like the most about Todd Monken and why I think he's a great fit for what the Ravens are trying to do is that if I could use one word to describe him and his philosophy, it's versatility. I mean, the amount of different personnel groups and packages that Todd Monken sent out there, both in Cleveland and at Georgia when he won those 2 national championships. The guy can go run heavy. The guy can go pass heavy. He can grind the clock on long 7, 8, 9-minute drives. He can hit you quick over the top with speedy wide receivers on the outside. The guy can do it all. And I feel like we now know that the Baltimore Ravens can run the ball as good as any team in NFL history, if we're being honest with you, when it comes to having Lamar Jackson healthy at quarterback, with the offensive line, like you said, with guys like J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards and Pat Ricard as well. Let's give the fullback some love. And what the Ravens need to see is, can you open this up? Can you turn this into a passing offense when we need it to be? And I think Todd Monken is one of those guys out there who can play both sides of that offensive coin. And that's what I like the most about him, is that if we need to burn clock, if we need to run the ball, he knows how to do that. And if we're playing from behind against a Patrick Mahomes, a Josh Allen, a Joe Burrow, whoever it may be, let's air the ball out. And he's got his guy in OBJ there. In his opening press conference when they first hired him, I mean, he had nothing but glowing remarks to say about Odell Beckham Jr., talking about his work ethic, talking about his physical intangibles, talking about how well Odell fits what Todd Monken likes to do when it comes to working with wide receivers. So, I mean, I think that he's just about as good of a guy as anybody supporting the Ravens could really hope for, or playing for the Ravens offense. I'd also put that out there. He is a player kind of guy. We want to get the very most and put guys in positions where they can succeed. We don't really care about what we need about as a team. We care about where can you do the best work on our offense. If that's playing in the slot, then we're going to play you in the slot. If that's playing you on the outside, then we're going to play you outside. Lamar, how are you feeling today? What do you want to do? Do you want to run the ball? You want to pass the ball? Let's make it happen. He's a very player strength oriented guy. And that's what the Ravens need. That kind of feels like a Ravens culture sort of move. So I'm very, very into the Todd Monken hire.
Now, we talked about the offense, but earlier on two-way talk, you felt like the Ravens have one of the best defenses out there. Do you still feel that way? And if so, what move do you think that they need to pivot to in that first round of the draft?
Well, so I'll tackle the defense question first, because the draft question is really, really interesting. But looking at the defense, I think obviously they have a big hole in their depth at cornerback, right? Obviously, Marlon Humphrey, year in, year out, is going to look like a top 10, top 5 kind of guy. And their safeties are about, I mean, I'll put them up against any safeties in the league at this point. Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Williams, and you got some depth with a guy like Geno Stone too. I think they're pretty much solid there for the next few years. The holes on defense, though, are definitely going to be on that D line, right? Calais Campbell, not there anymore. And he really covered up a lot of holes that they had on that D line, bringing in kind of young guys who didn't really have a lot of experience. And you can afford to do that when you have a guy like Calais Campbell plugging up that hole. But now that he's gone, some of those young guys are really going to have to step up. I'm looking at Justin Matabuke. I'm looking at Broderick Washington. I'm looking at the rookie, soon-to-be sophomore, Travis Jones. And, of course, Michael Pierce, who we didn't really get to see a whole lot of last year due to injury. So that's going to be a big question mark. And, of course, pass rush. Justin Houston, who got 9.5 sacks last year, doesn't look right now like he's going to be returning. That could change between now and September. But as of right now, he is a free agent. So where are the sacks going to come from? Well, same deal. You're going to need guys who you invested a lot of draft capital in David Ajabo early in the second round, and Odafe Owe in the first round 2 years ago. I mean, those guys are going to have to take a step. And I think the Baltimore Ravens are looking at pass rush right now and wondering how much more can we invest into this position before we just need to blow it up. I mean, if you can't make it work with a first-round draft pick in Odafe Owe and a should-be first-round draft pick, but injury turned him into a second-round draft pick in David Ajabo, then, I mean, it's just too much capital to bring in anybody else. So I think that D-line is really, really going to be dependent on how many of these young guys can take a step. And they showed flashes last year, so I don't think it's a Hail Mary situation by any means. But looking at holes on the defense, those are probably the two most glaring ones, would be who's going to play cornerback and who, who's going to be pressuring the quarterback. Because without Justin Houston, they were largely lost last season. So that's going to be a very big question, but it's not without hope. It's not like it's a barren wasteland and they're not doing anything about it. They have young guys who they invested draft picks into, and they need to honor those draft picks and see if they can come good. And if they can't, then you reset. And if they do, then, kudos to the front office. Looking at your draft question, that I think has been one of the most fascinating things about this OBJ deal, right? Because before the OBJ deal, it was no matter what, the Ravens need to take a wide receiver in the first round. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's where they need to go. Even if a guy that they don't love is their only option, they still need to make that move because they're desperate right now. Well, you bring in a guy like OBJ, and it actually takes a lot of the pressure off of that first pick now, right? It doesn't feel like it necessarily has to be a wide receiver, even though I would like it to be. It doesn't even feel anymore like they need to stay in the first round. Keep in mind, the Ravens only have 5 draft picks, which, I mean, as far as an NFL draft goes, is basically nothing, right? And Eric DeCosta said in his pre-draft press conference that getting more picks is going to be a priority moving forward. So don't be surprised if they trade out of that first round, gobble up some more picks, and use it to kind of bolster some of those weak spots. But if I had to bet on what position I think the Ravens would take, assuming they don't trade out of that first round, I honestly think they would go corner. It's just what they're comfortable with, right? They're not comfortable drafting wide receivers. I mean, I don't know how many times they have to fail at doing it for people to understand that they're just not comfortable doing it. So if they have a reason to avoid going after another wide receiver with a first round draft pick, when they could draft a position that A, they have a need, and B, are very comfortable drafting in a cornerback, I think that's probably what they're going to do, or they're probably going to trade out. I don't see him taking a wide receiver, but I do think that would be the best move for the Baltimore Ravens as it pertains to 2023.
You think Marcus Peters comes back?
Probably not. Probably not. I think he's going to cost a little too much, and I'm not sure he warrants that price tag. I mean, you know, looking at last season, like, how much do you think you would feel comfortable paying a guy like Marcus Peters?
I would pay him a vet minimum.
Yeah, I mean, I got.
Yeah.
I mean, I two thumbs down. I mean, kind of give me some explanation on that, because I agree with you. I wouldn't pay him either. But what makes you hesitant to pay a guy like Marcus Peters, particularly when you're the Ravens and you have a need right there? But I'm kind of curious to get your thoughts on it.
Well, my thoughts is this: we saw him last year. He's coming off of the injury. It looked like he might have lost a step, but it just felt like at times when you needed him to make a stop, he was getting burned left and right. And if it wasn't, I think it was a Cleveland game where, if it wasn't for the wide receiver that went out of bounds, I forgot his name.
Oh yeah, I do
Amari
remember
Cooper.
the play though. Yeah,
If it wasn't for Amari Cooper going out of bounds, we probably would have lost that game. So it was plenty of times last season where he was just like, you know, crying and whining, and he just wasn't playing very well. So I wouldn't pay him no top tier money. I would pay him just a vet minimum at this point.
Yeah, my issue with him is that he kind of reminds me of Ed Reed, where if he gambles is great, but his gambles too often I feel like cost us. And
Terrible now.
Like,
terrible analogy.
well, I'm saying that he is it's like, because he does try to play like Ed Reed, because Ed Reed would gamble a lot, and you could
he's
see
a boomer
that
bust kind of guy, where it's either he's going to get an interception or he's going to give up a touchdown.
Here's a better one, Cravante. If the game's at 1:00, he might miss a couple plays, but if it's at prime time, he's going to show up.
Right. So, but you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Asante Samuel. A little.
You know, that's probably. Wait a minute. Now, which Asante Samuel you saying though?
Pops, senior. Asante Samuel senior. With the shoot, I'll probably say Asante Samuel with the Eagles, if anything now, because with the Patriots, Asante Samuel was a monster. But with the Eagles, I would probably say that's more Marcus Peters now. I think he was too much bust as opposed to boom. And I think when you were talking about the defensive line issues, I think that really hurt Marcus Peters too, because now Marcus Peters had to play a little bit more, a couple more seconds, and then he got beat up really bad. So I think that's a testament to what you were saying. Like, pass rush and D-line is going to be very important for this Ravens defense moving forward. But Marcus Peters, he has to go. And I'm a Commanders fan. I'm the only Commanders fan here. But speaking from the outside looking in, the outside looking in, Marcus Peters, let him go. Let him go.
Yeah, I mean, it's to the point where it's just, what's the guy going to ask for, right? I mean, if he decides to come back for like a vet minimum or a team-friendly deal, I'd be more than happy to have the guy there. He's a great locker room guy. He's a body. You know that he isn't going to get, deer in headlights. He He knows how to play the position. He's a good guy to have for the young dudes who are going to be taking his place in a couple years. But I mean, I can't unsee what I saw last year. I mean, the dude was getting burnt all over the place in big moments too. I mean, I think of that Jaguars game where he got beat for the touchdown. Then he got beat for the 2-point conversion. Like, they were picking on Marcus Peters that entire game. And it wasn't the no disrespect to the Jags, but it wasn't Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. It wasn't Josh Allen. It wasn't anything like that. I mean, it was a team that the Baltimore Ravens were beating. Burnt Toast Peters right there. No longer.
That's what we were
MVP.
using.
Yeah,
We were using this last year a lot.
So when I look at that cornerback position, I'd rather him just draft a guy than bring back Marcus Peters at that point, particularly when, all these conversations about roster building come back to the same place. How much are you going to be paying Lamar? Because we can't be out here giving Odell Beckham Jr. $18 million for 1 year and overpaying for Marcus Peters without having a long-term plan at quarterback. So I don't see the Ravens doing it. And I don't think they should. I don't see where the value is, to be honest with you.
Shout out to Engraven too.
Oh yes, our brother Engraven. Appreciate you, man.
I mean, hopefully you're right. Hopefully.
Let me get your opinion on the Ravens not having a Pro Bowl wide receiver ever in their history. What do you think is the holdup with the Ravens in that one key position?
Well, I think that it goes into just culture, right? I think teams have culture and teams value certain positions more than other positions. The Ravens don't care about wide receiver because they've never needed it to be successful, right? In any field, whether it's sports, whether it's business, whatever it may be. When a person or an organization finds a way to do business that brings them success, it's very difficult to convince them to change because this is all they know and it's worked for them in the past, right? So let's take two teams, for example. Let's take the Baltimore Ravens. Let's take the Minnesota Vikings. When it comes to the wide receiver position, they could not be more polar opposite, right? I mean, look at who the Vikings have to boast. They have Justin Jefferson, Randy Moss, Chris Carter. Like, these are Mount Rushmore kind of guys that we're talking about. And that is the way that franchise has always been. Those three guys are from three totally different generations of the game. And it doesn't matter who's the GM. It doesn't matter who the owner is. Doesn't matter who the head coach is. That team just knows how to draft wide receivers. Within the AFC North, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the same exact way. It doesn't matter who's running the show. Just ingrained in that culture, ingrained in the foundation that they've built and the brain power that they've built through generations of that organization. They just value the wide receiver position and they're always going to hit on it. It's just what it is. It's almost like something you can't really explain. And the Baltimore Ravens are not like that. But take a position like linebacker, which their entire, franchise culture has been built on with Ray Lewis. I mean, they will always have a good linebacker in the building. It doesn't matter if it's a journeyman, if it's a rookie, if it's an all-pro, they will always have the linebacker position locked down long-term, right? Maybe you'll have a scattered year or two where they can't figure it out, but for the most part, they're always going to do that. And you don't have to look any further than the guy who's playing there right now in Roquan Smith. They gave up a second and a fifth and gave this guy $100 million contract for an inside linebacker. You probably couldn't convince 95% of the teams in the NFL to do that. But that's just the Ravens. It's their culture. It's the position that they value. Same thing with safety when you got guys like Rod Woodson and Ed Reed coming through your organization. And so when it comes to the Ravens and wide receiver, it's just I don't think that they have a good culture of brain power when it comes to analyzing and scouting wide receivers. I don't think they particularly care, to be honest with you, about having a good wide receiver in the building. I think they'd like to, but if they don't, I think they're very comfortable saying, we'll figure it out. Because they have in the past. They won. Who was the best wide receiver on the 2000 team? Quadri Ishmael, like Brandon Stokely. I mean, and no disrespect to those guys. Q, I think, is one of the great broadcasters in local sports right now. And Brandon Stokely had a wonderful career. But if they didn't win that Super Bowl, they would be who guys? Who? Quadri Ishmael, who? Right? Brandon Stokely, who? And again, no disrespect to those guys. I think they're wonderful players, but when we're talking about all pro talent, they're not that. And the Ravens in 2012, their best wide receiver was Anquan Bolden, who didn't even eclipse 1,000 yards that season. Don't get me wrong. He had a fantastic playoff run, but his regular season was nothing, to melt your brain about. I mean, he had an average season as a wide receiver number one. And the Baltimore Ravens found a way to still go win a Super Bowl without, a true superstar wide receiver. So I think they're just very comfortable not having that kind of guy and just saying, you know what, we'll figure it out because we know how to. We have the blueprint on how to win without a wide receiver. But what's really interesting about that is that at that end of the season press conference a few months ago that DaCosta and Harbaugh had, they said that a lot of the team is largely going to stay the same. We're not going to change up the tight ends very much. We're not going to change up the defense very much. The one room that you're going to see us try to rebuild is going to be the wide receiver room. And it felt like it was kind of a moment, right? It felt like it was kind of a moment where John Harbaugh and DaCosta were saying, we understand that the game is changing and we've tried to do the modern game in our way, and it's not quite working the way we want it to. So we're willing to pivot. We're willing to change. And that was a very big moment for me, just to see them kind of acknowledge that in so many words. And now they brought in Nelson Aguilar, and they gave a boatload of money to Odell Beckham Jr. And if they take a wide receiver in the first round of this draft, which again, I don't think is likely, but is very possible, then, I mean, that's a full-blown commitment to the wide receiver position in a way that we've never seen the Baltimore Ravens approach an offseason before. So, I mean, to your question, Dre, it's been like that for a while for the reasons I stated, but we could be witnessing the very first season of that culture changing, which would be unprecedented for the Ravens, in their 26 years.
Let me follow up about the offense. A guy that me and you both are familiar with at WEAA. I like to call him Coach Andy, not Andy Reid, Randy Reid, our news director. As soon as the OBJ signing happened, he texted me and he said that he thought that Cam Newton would be a great fit for the Baltimore Ravens if we can't secure Lamar for a long-term deal. What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, how much long? Yes. Yes. Well done, gentlemen. Yes. I mean, how long do we have to run this experiment again? How long do we have to do this? He's done. Like, Cam's done. And that's okay. He had a great career. I mean, MVP winner, Super Bowl appearance. Like, I feel like just be satisfied with what you have, dude, and go start a podcast and make millions of dollars. Like, I don't understand why we have to do this.
Because everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it.
But not everyone's Cam Newton.
Exactly.
Like, not everyone's Cam Newton. So if he starts a podcast, people are going, especially because it's Cam on top of all people. Not only is he a decorated NFL quarterback, but he's a polarizing, eccentric guy. Like, I don't know why. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to crush on anybody for wanting to play the game that they love. But if it comes to being a GM, if I had to put on my GM hat, I wouldn't touch Cam with a 10-foot pole. I don't see the point. Like, what has he done in the past 3 or 4 years that's given anybody any reason to think that he deserves to be a starting quarterback in the NFL? And I like Cam. I think he's a great personality. I think he's good for the sport. I think you want to have guys like that. It makes the TV show of the NFL very interesting to watch. But the guy can't win games anymore. He's old. He's injured. It's what happens. It's the life cycle of being an NFL player, and he's kind of reached the end of it, and that's okay. But no, I'd rather have Snoop Huntley start for the season than take Cam Newton for a year, just because I don't want to feed that delusion. I don't want to be one of the teams that said, yeah, Cam, you can still do it. I feel bad for that man. Let him go off to the farm. Let him just go off to the farm and have his ride into the sunset. Don't feed this Cam Newton delusion that he has still. I think it's dangerous for him.
Take him to the woodshed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Old Yeller.
Not Old Yeller.
Yeah, we're not condoning the euthanasia of Cam Newton. Maybe from his NFL career, though. We'll Old Yeller his NFL career. That's what needs to happen.
Would you draft somebody like at the quarterback position, like an Anthony Richardson? Then?
Oh God.
That's if look. I mean, they said the Ravens are looking. Hey, look, we've looked. Apparently, there have been rumors saying that we've looked into like Baker Mayfield.
Well, I mean, Eric DaCosta himself said that. Yeah, we've been looking at the quarterback position for the draft. Now, pre-Odell, I might have said that you're onto something there. And if a guy like Anthony Richardson were to fall to 22, which I don't see happening, but if he did. Maybe it might not hurt, because if your contract talks with Lamar Jackson are still completely stalled and you don't know what 2024 is going to look like, if it could just be another franchise tag, I don't think it'd be the worst move in the world. But after Odell, that makes it seem like there's a bit more of a commitment to Lamar, makes it seem like we've gotten a little more commitment from Lamar since that Odell agreement. Now I'm like, why are you going to have all these cooks in the kitchen? Why are you going to stir up quarterback controversy when you finally got your first positive reception of the whole offseason from this guy?
He said reception. Get it? Catch it? Wide receivers.
You need to have a badum as you on your soundboard there. That's what you need.
But okay, so I don't think it is nothing against getting a quarterback, but just not in the first round, right? There's no way this happens at 22.
No. And now, I mean, I don't think anybody was going to fall to 22. That was going to be worth it. I think CJ Stroud, I think that Bryce Young, Will Levis, and AR-15, I think they're all going to be taken off the board by the time we get to 22. But in a hypothetical where that guy was there, where an Anthony Richardson was there, where a Bryce Young was there, maybe it is worth looking at, because, again, you need to have some kind of insurance plan. And I think that there's less of a need for that since they signed Odell, because, again, it seemed like a happy moment between Lamar and the Ravens for the first time since we've ended the season. And honestly, for the first time since Lamar got injured earlier this year. And you might even be able to say, earlier than that. So, I mean, again, why are you going to follow up that first happy moment with stirring things up? It's like if you and your girl have been fighting for months and y'all finally have a great date night together, and then you come back home and you're like, those jeans kind of make you look fat. Like, why would you do that? Like, have a conversation at a different time. Don't do that then. It's not where you just cultivate that momentum, ride that momentum, build up some goodwill, and then maybe drop a bomb like that. But don't do it 3 weeks after y'all finally had a good night. I mean, it wouldn't make any sense to me. So pre-Odell, yeah, maybe that might be in the cards. Post-Odell, I think they're over it.
Well, I just want to say one thing. Shut up, Mark. That's not happening. Also,
yes.
Also, Gabe, I want to ask you this. Since Odell is here now, and him and Lamar are tight, what do you expect? I guess from them going on to this season, and also, do you think the Ravens will just let Lamar be on a 1-year deal, or will they decide to give him a 3-year deal, or maybe a 5-year deal, or are they going to wait to see how he looks in Tom Mumpkin's system to make a decision?
Well, I mean, in terms of a 1-year deal, you referring to like just playing on the tag this year, or actually signing a 1-year extension?
Maybe the tag, but maybe get it up to $46 million, because I know Josina Anderson said maybe they might give the actual franchise tag $46 million for 1 year, just to see how it might look.
I mean, I fully expect him to just play on the tag this year. I think before there was a bit of a wonder, could he sit out after this Odell deal? Doesn't really seem like that's in the cards. But I expect him to probably play on the franchise tag this year. I don't know if anything has happened. And I don't think anybody knows if anything has happened that have moved the Ravens' position on how much money they're willing to give him. In my opinion, the everybody wins contract already got offered, and it was the 3 years. It was the 3 years for $133 million, fully guaranteed. That's $45 million a year, every single penny guaranteed. It's very, very clear at this point that the league is not convinced that Lamar Jackson is worth the same or more money than Deshaun Watson got, whether it's guaranteed or not, right? He's not worth that kind of contract in the eyes of the NFL. I don't think there's any debate about that anymore. And the only way, if Lamar's true top priority is to cash out that mega millions lottery kind of contract, then he needs two things to do that. A, he needs security. The reason he needs security is because he needs to be able to give 110% over the course of an entire season without worrying about not being able to play or not being able to make money the next year. We've seen it completely derail the last 2 seasons for the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. So the first thing he needs is security. The second thing he needs is playtime. He needs to be playing to change the minds and the perspectives of the owners and GMs of the NFL, including the Baltimore Ravens, if he really wants to get his Deshaun Watson style deal. So 3 years, $133 million guaranteed. You're guaranteeing yourself starting play time with a Super Bowl caliber team, a very well-run organization that will treat you right. And you have security for those 3 years. So you can take a minor injury and actually work to get back on the field as soon as possible, because you know you have another $45 million waiting for you right around the corner next season. So that was, in my opinion, the perfect deal for Lamar, because I don't know what he's holding out for at this point. There is no last second 11th hour. The Colts come in and give you $250 million guaranteed. There is no the Atlanta Falcons, who already said they're not interested, come in and give you $250 million guaranteed. It doesn't exist anymore. So if you're going to go into another season just playing on the franchise tag, you're only doing yourself a disservice, because you're not going to have security. So if you take a minor injury again, you're not going to be very quick to get back on the field and re-aggravate that injury and then screw yourself out of money for next season and the season after that. And if you're not playing because you're hurt, or if you're not giving 110% because you're scared of getting hurt for what it might jeopardize in the future, then you're not getting the play time you need. So I don't think he behooves himself at all by going out and playing on the franchise tag. And if there's $133 million on the table, fully guaranteed for 3 years, I mean, you're going to be, he's what, 26 right now? He won't even be 30 years old by the time he gets to negotiate a new contract. And everybody else in this generation, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, are going to reset the market, and the cap's going to go up. So there's going to be even more money to be made by the time he's 29. So, I mean, I just don't know what he's holding out for. And if he goes into this season on the franchise tag, he has to give 110%, because the only thing that can happen to his value at this point is it can go down if he's not playing as hard as he possibly can. It's the only direction his value can go. The only way that he can do the opposite of that and bring it up is by giving 110% and by playing a full season. And if he gets hurt, rehabbing to get back before the end of the season. And that's a very, very dicey game to play when you're just sitting on a franchise tag making $32 million a year. So, I mean, in terms of the contract situation, I don't know why he didn't sign that 133 over 3 years, because that was the perfect deal for the Ravens and for Lamar Jackson, in my opinion. But in a perfect world, give him 5 years, let him re-up again right when he turns 30, or maybe right before he turns 30, depending on how the math works out, and make that your guy for the future. I mean, I think it's clear that that's what the Ravens want. They want Lamar to be their guy for the future. And when you look at all the different things teams have said, you know, Arthur Blank, the owner of the Falcons, said, hey, I like Lamar, but I don't know how long he has in the league with the way that he plays, and he's going to cost a lot of money. You had the owner of the Panthers come out and say Lamar's a very expensive option. I don't know if we're in the market for that. You had the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers come out and say, we really like the guys we have in our building, so we don't think that we're going to pursue Lamar. And all you've heard from the Ravens is, we love Lamar. That's our guy. We're committed to keeping him. We love his charisma. We love his attitude. We love his play style. We love his work ethic. We just love Lamar. And so you have this team that's kind of trying to just be like, come here and let me give you a hug. Let me embrace you. Let me show you some love. And he's doing nothing but just like, no, I don't want it. I don't want it. It's like, bro, just like let us in a little bit here. And I mean, not to get too deep and philosophical down a rabbit hole here, but I think Lamar has shown that he has issues trusting people. And, you know, for better or for worse, I'm not saying it's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. I think it can be a bit of a double-edged sword. But I think he's got issues trusting people. And I think he has issues trusting his future, particularly with other people. The way you've seen him kind of conduct his businesses, obviously the way you've seen him conduct these contract negotiations, it's always very in-house, right? You never hear about Lamar having any kind of representative in the business world. From the entire gym that he launched to Play Action Soul Food in South Florida, right? Like that is all Lamar himself. If you go on the website for Play Action Soul Food, I think everybody should do this. The entire website.
Oh, we're gonna do it right now.
It read the description of the menu items, read like the mission statement. It actually sounds like Lamar typed it himself. And that's not, supposed to be a bad thing, but it's just a little eye-opening of just how hesitant he is to let other people put their fingerprints on his project, on his identity, on his brand, And so I think that's a big reason for this as well, that I think Lamar has issues accepting the Ravens when they say, look, bro, this is what's best for you, you know? And I think he's kind of like, well, I know what's best for me, you know, me and my camp, my mom, you know, whoever else he has helping him with representation, like we know what's best for us. And we're going to exhaust every possible avenue until we can get what's best for us. And I hope it works out for his sake, but so far, I mean, how's it going for him, right? He doesn't have a contract and he's going to be a free agent next year. So my message to Lamar on this soliloquy that I'm on right now is let the Ravens in, man. Just open up your arms and embrace what they're trying to give you, because it's a lot of money. It is a lot of money they're trying to give this guy. I mean, how old are all you guys? Like 20, 27, 28?
I wish.
We wish.
Wow. Wish 30. I'm 32.
32?
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine
34.
Imagine being a 32, 34, you know, however old you are, and a company is saying, we want to give you $133 million, every penny of it guaranteed, and you saying no. It's mind-boggling, right? And so I don't know how anybody can really rationalize that decision, to be honest with you, because he would still have a chance to re-up in 3 years, and who wouldn't want to do that? That's good for his business. So I wish Lamar would let the Ravens in a little bit to get the contract that I want him to sign, which would probably be like $250 million, 200 guaranteed over 5 years. So give him $50 million a year, make 200 of it fully guaranteed, have the other $50 million come through a signing bonus and extensions and incentives. I think that would be a very charitable deal to Lamar Jackson. But let me ask you guys this real quick. Do you think he is deserving of a Deshaun Watson style deal?
I say yes from the beginning.
Wow, really?
Yep. I would.
How
I
about
wouldn't
the
even
rest of the panel
hesitate.
here?
I would have just gave it to him.
The deal that you said is a deal that I've said from jump. I think that $200 million at least guaranteed, so that way it's in between Kyler and Deshaun, but yet he still paid more than Deshaun with that $50 million extra in there. So $250 million total, but 200 of it guaranteed is where I've been at.
Listen, the only reason why we're talking 200 anything is because of Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if that did not happen, this would not, like Lamar and the Ravens probably wouldn't be in the situation that they're in now. Or who knows, maybe because the Ravens aren't used to dealing with this caliber of a superstar. But no, I don't even feel comfortable guaranteeing $200 million right now. But where the market is going, and just in general with the salary cap and everything, is kind of where we're going. And he's won 75% of his games, so he's like worth it to a degree. But then I have a lot of questions as well. So if my questions equals my answers or my production, it's a no for me.
I mean, if you're Lamar, right? I honestly see both sides of the argument, to be honest with you. Because if you're Lamar and you're in a negotiating room and you're saying, look, just like you said, I win 75% of my games. The only time I haven't made it to the playoffs were years where I was too injured to finish the season. And on top of that, off the field, I have been flawless. I haven't had a single scandal. I have been the easiest target of any of the new crop of QBs to come up. I've made zero concessions about the way I talk. I've made zero concessions about the way I dress. I made zero concessions about the way I present myself on social media. I am a Noya boy from Pompano Beach, Florida, through and through. And that, I acknowledge, has made me a very easy target. And despite all that pressure, despite all that criticism, despite that target on my back that has come from the old guard, really all the old men who don't like seeing young kids come and dominate the league, right? Despite that target on my back, I haven't had a single scandal. I haven't had a single bad report come out. I haven't had a single bad relationship. I mean, most people don't know Lamar Jackson has a daughter. Like, most folks don't know that, because he has kept everything that goes on in his private life so private and so scandal-free that people don't even know what he does outside of playing football, right? And taking photo shoots at gas stations, which I think is the coolest thing ever, you know, like, and yet here we are, and there's a guy over in Cleveland who isn't more decorated than me, hasn't won an MVP. The only thing he's done that I haven't is lose in an AFC championship game. And off the field, he has one of the worst sexual harassment scandals in NFL history. and he's worth 230 million and I'm not, make that make sense to me. And I think that's a fair argument on behalf of Lamar. But on the other side of things, if you're an owner or you're a GM, I think it's equally as fair to say, look, man, all that's totally valid. But at the end of the day, we don't think Deshaun Watson was worth that deal either. And we're not going to let what another team does dictate what we do in our house. At the end of the day, you may win 75% of your games, but you've only won 25% of your playoff games. You're 1-3 in the playoffs right now. You failed to finish the last 2 seasons. You weren't there in January and December when your team needed you most. And we're not totally confident that we should give that kind of money to a guy who hasn't been able to perform and in the last 2 seasons hasn't even been on the field when football really matters, right? In December and January, when football really matters, either you haven't shown up or you actually physically weren't there. And I think that's a fair argument too. And I think that's kind of why we're in a stalemate right now, right? Is because both sides have legitimate claims to what they want to see happen. And how do you compromise that when you really feel like you're right? So I understand where the stalemate comes from, but someone's got to give eventually. And it's either Lamar's going to lead, the Baltimore Ravens or some team to a Super Bowl, and he's going to get his way, or Lamar Jackson's going to have this come to Jesus moment that he needs to sign a long-term deal. But I question if that's ever going to happen if it hasn't happened yet, right? Like, I almost think the only way out of this is for Lamar to go win a Super Bowl and be Super Bowl MVP and cash a blank check, because if he hasn't been convinced it's not coming yet, I don't know what can happen to convince him of that.
That's why if he had an agent, Gabe, the deal would have been done, because you're not dealing with Lamar the player, you're dealing with Lamar the agent. If Joe Burrow was in this situation, I bet you would be a bunch of teams lining up to give him 2 first-round picks and guaranteed money. Look at Justin Herbert; he's about to get paid. Jalen Hurts is about to get paid. So it's a very, very slippery slope. But we want Lamar here.
But that's kind of what's interesting about it, right? Is how much money is Justin Herbert going to get paid? Because I was just talking about this the other day. We rail so much on the Ravens, you've wasted Lamar Jackson and his prime, all this and that. But then when you look at the Chargers, they have a guy who I don't agree with this argument, but I think there is a fair argument, is actually better than Lamar Jackson is. Definitely when it comes to throwing the ball. I don't think there's any debate about that, But I think there's an argument that if you're ranking quarterbacks, those guys are probably right next to each other, right? Or within 1 or 2 spaces of each other on any kind of ranking you're going to throw together. And the Chargers have made 1 playoff appearance with Justin Herbert in the 3 or 4 years that he's been in the league now, and choked that game away, choked away a 27-point lead, So I wonder how much Justin Herbert is going to get paid. And if he gets paid a ton of money, that's even more ammo for Lamar to come in and say, you're paying this guy, and he hasn't even won a playoff game, and I can't get the deal that I want to get. So maybe there's a little bit of chess being played here by Lamar. And he's like, well, let me wait for these new guys to sign their deals, because I know that they'll tag me this season, and I know that they'll tag me next season if we still don't have a deal figured out. So maybe Lamar's just trying to play a waiting game and waiting to see when these contracts come out. I mean, I know the Bengals said that they're trying to work quick to get a Joe Burrow deal done before he becomes a free agent, So there could be a bit of actual strategy here by Lamar at play. But again, I never really know what Lamar's doing, because either I convince myself he's playing 4D chess and he's actually this mastermind, and then he'll go on a hour-long bender on Twitter and Instagram just posting memes. So I'm like, can somebody who has this many memes saved on their phone also be a strategic contract mastermind? It's hard to marry those two things, like
he's the ultimate troll. That's what he is.
Quite literally. No, he actually is. Yeah. I always say there are 2 places where Lamar actually is putting on his thinking cap. It's when he's on the football field and when he's on Twitter. Like the dude is such a product of the social media era, And I don't know. I'm kind of curious to hear from you guys, like what you think of this Gen Z era of athletes in general, but particularly NFL stars. Like, do you think it's good for the game that star athletes spend all their time on Twitter and Instagram, or do you think that it's kind of compromising some of the integrity?
I hate it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I hate
don't press send.
I hate it.
Coach Herm says.
And don't get me wrong, it's not the fact that that they're on Twitter or in Facebook or whatever, posting things and being goofy. It's just the fact that sometimes you like you said, you can't press center on certain things, and sometimes you just gotta like let it breathe and let it wait out. Like right after the game with the Jaguars game, when the fan was getting at Lamar Jackson, like right away he just attacks him, boom, and makes himself look like a complete idiot. And it's just like, I wish we didn't have that kind of access to him. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying? Where we can just tweet him stupid stuff and he reacts to you. It's not a good look nowadays. It just really isn't to me.
No, I
Social,
like what.
so,
Oh, go ahead, Cravante.
social media has created a very thin-skinned athlete nowadays, and we can point to Kevin Durant's and whoever else you want, but Kyler Murray, it has created because they want to be. I feel like the athlete wants to be in tune with their fans until they're either not playing well or they're hurt or they're not performing how the fans think they are, and then the fans turn. They have to understand fans are the most fickle people on this earth. You know what I'm saying? Like the fans of Philadelphia, the Cowboys fans, whoever. Fans are fickle, man. Love you, then hate you. You have to know you have to know and be true to yourself before anything else. And everybody doesn't deserve your energy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's one thing that Lamar Jackson and all the other, even the athletes coming up now, they have to learn that very, very, very quickly and move how what's best for you and clear out all the noise.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of these dudes, it's a bit of a culture shock for them because they go their entire lives being these like straight up superstars, like superstars. Pop Warner, it's like, oh my God, it's Lamar. Like he's a 9-year-old playing with 13-year-olds and he's tearing them up. High school, he's the best player in the state right now. College, I mean, oh my God, he completely revived the Louisville football program. Like everywhere these guys go, they are absolute stars. And then all of a sudden, everybody's just as good as they are. And I feel like it's a lot to go from being, almost this deity figure in your hometown, wherever you grew up, and then you go to college, or everywhere you walk on campus, you're just a god walking around. And then you scroll endless content of people just saying terrible, terrible things about you. Like, you got to kind of sympathize with them a little bit. But then at the end of the day, it's like you got to also have the maturity to just, like you said, don't hit send and put the phone down. And it makes me a little bit worried about how competitive, like, is that competitive edge always going to be there? Or are, like you said, are guys becoming a little too thin-skinned to really rise to that challenge? Like I imagine some of these dudes playing against in like the NBA, for instance, like Kevin Durant playing against Bill Laimbeer and Rick Mahorn on the Bad Boy Pistons. Like, come on, dude. Or I mean, honestly, and I think it's very interesting to look at like the evolution of LeBron, and part of this is probably being like the best player in the world for so long. Your tolerance for BS goes down a little bit. But I feel like the way we see LeBron complain to referees nowadays is nothing compared to his early days. Like even when he was at the Heat, when he was first there, So I wonder if a bit of that has kind of seeped into some of the older guys' mentalities as well. But I mean, it's really interesting to look at. And as it pertains to Lamar, to bring it back to the main conversation here, I think that, like you guys said, he probably spends a little bit too much time on social media. Am I allowed to curse on this? Is that okay?
Oh, go ahead.
Go right ahead.
When Lamar told a fan to eat a bag of dicks, like you don't want your quarterback doing that. It's so funny because like as a fan, I'm like, that's awesome. But if I was Eric DeCosta or John Harbaugh, I'd be like, come on, Lamar. You can't be telling dudes to eat dick on Twitter. Like you can't be doing that, bro. Like especially randos. The dude had like 150 followers. It was like some nobody bot account. And Lamar was like, eat a bag of dicks, dog. You don't know what's happening on the field because you're like, you've never played in your life. It's like, bro, just leave it. Like that's a don't hit send moment. That's a moment where it's like, do not hit send, bro. It's not worth it. So hopefully once he gets this contract nailed down, he can calm down a little bit. And I do buy into that idea. I do believe that when the contract gets signed, if it gets signed, everything will kind of mellow out a little bit. I really believe that this has been a huge weight on Lamar's shoulders. And I think he's in so deep right now, and he has so many people in his ear looking at the NFLPA more so than anybody, that he's like, I got to see this to the end. I can't just cop out and get an agent, like, and have them take care of it. I'm so deep in now, and I have so many people, following me and kind of banking on me getting this done that I have to do it. So whenever that weight gets lifted off Lamar, I think we'll kind of see a 2019 version of Lamar where he's happy again, he's carefree, he's dancing. Like, I think that's what everybody wants to see, whether you love the guy or you hate the guy, right? I mean, nobody can deny that in 2019, when Lamar was MVP, that was some of the most fun football to watch maybe ever. It was just fun. Like, you were watching all these young dudes out there, Lamar leading the pack, who looked like they were just playing backyard football, love of the game kind of guys. And I think that's what everybody wants to see again, right? So once this weight comes off his shoulders, I really, really hope that that's what we can get back to, because that was like infectious how much fun it was to watch those guys when Lamar was at his peak.
Go ahead, Cravante. You want to get in there?
Oh, shoot, man. Yo, I sent a text to y'all, and we started the whole part 2 to the conversation, so I forgot. But as I stated earlier, I am the lone Commanders fan on the panel. So my organization has been terrible since about 1999, when the now owner Daniel Snyder bought the team, and who bought it as a fan. Remember, fans are fickle, whether you own them or not. What are your thoughts on the state of the Commanders now that he's nearing his end of owning the team?
I mean, it's probably the most exciting time to be a Commanders fan.
Say it again,
season, right?
Say it again, yes.
I mean, like, really, like, you can see the team they're trying to build now, and I think that's the most important thing, right? Like, that front seven, I think is as respectable as any front seven in the league right now. I think that wide receiving core is as respectable as any wide receiving core in the league right now. I think that backfield with the running backs are as respectable as any backfield in the league right now. So there's still some holes that you got to fill. I think the secondary could use some reinforcements. And obviously the big question is going to be the position of quarterback. Is Sam Howell going to be the guy? And then who'd they just bring in? Who'd they just sign? Remind me. Brissett, who is a baller. Maybe not a baller. He's a gamer. You can bring Brissett in against most teams and have a reasonable expectation that he's going to be competitive, right? And if you're Commanders, like, that's a positive sign if he's the guy starting, if Sam Howell doesn't end up being your guy. So, and also the big one, right? You bring in Eric Bieniemy. And now, as a neutral fan of this situation of the Commanders, very excited to see what Bieniemy does, because I'm one of those guys who's like, Bieniemy's kind of got to prove himself a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I think his resume is fantastic. And most coaches would hope to have their resume at the end of their career look like Eric Bieniemy's, just however many years he's been the OC. But there's a difference between doing it with Andy Reid as your head coach designing the offense and Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback versus going somewhere where you actually have to build the project, right? So I think that's going to be really exciting. But it's a good time to be a Commanders fan, 100%. Do I think you should have Super Bowl aspirations? Maybe not, but you should expect to be competitive. And I would be happy about that. And the icing on the cake is obviously that the ownership seems like it's going to be changing sooner rather than later. Yep. So you put all those things together. I mean, you're looking like you might be in a pretty good way. You just got to hope this quarterback pops. I mean, if Sam Howell doesn't pop, then you got a couple other guys coming up in the next few years who could be good. My worry though for the Commanders, to be honest with you, is you might be in that weird limbo position where you're not good enough to be competitive, but you're not bad enough to get a high enough draft pick to bring in a game-changing quarterback. That's the one thing I'd be concerned of, because you can't go 9-8 or even 10-7 every single year and expect to grow as a team, right? It's either you have to be tanking to rebuild the project, or you got to be competitive. And the Commanders seem like if they can't figure out quarterback, they're going to be stuck in that limbo. And that worries me a bit. But in terms of the roster, I mean, they have strengths all over the place. And that's a positive thing. Since, like I said, probably the most positive the team's looked since that one RG3 season that came to an abrupt end, as we all know.
Yep.
But I mean, you're the Commanders fan here. How do you feel about it? Do you think I'm being overzealous, or are you just as or more excited? Where are you at with it?
You hit the nail on the goddamn head. As far as draft picks, the excitement, Eric Bieniemy, Daniel Snyder leaving, and the draft. Oh my God! Listen, throughout the year, I was in limbo because I'm like, yo, I kind of don't want us to win this game. I kind of don't, because it puts us in that weird teens of the draft, the double digits. It's like, yo, 2 of them games that we won, we probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But don't get me wrong, I love beating up on the Cowboys. I absolutely get it. But there were a couple games where I was like, yo, I think it'd be all right if we just go ahead and let this one go. And on top of that, another thing I'm concerned about, I don't think Ron Rivera's the guy anymore. So how if we win 10 games and barely skate in the playoffs, he's not going anywhere. So we almost need Eric Bieniemy out in a weird way. It's like, I want Eric Bieniemy to be successful, but I'm tired of Ron Rivera. I feel like the voice is stale. And we need a new voice. Now, is it Eric Bieniemy? I'm not sure, but it's kind of weird because I want Eric Bieniemy to succeed, and if our offense succeeds, we're probably not going to be a middle of the pack team. But that means Ron Rivera is not going anywhere. But
here's the interesting thing with it is I mean, I'm pretty bought into the idea that they're grooming Bieniemy to take over as the head coach, and I think even if they have a good season, if the offense is truly like the engine behind a successful season, I don't think they would have a big issue saying, "Hey, Ron, like, thanks for your services, you've done good, but we're kind of moving in a different direction now." You know, and so for instance, would you be surprised if next season, let's say that Sam Howell has a great year, earns his job as the starter, and the Washington Commanders go 10-7 and win a playoff game, right? And I know that's a great season, but then at the end of the year, they fired Ron Rivera and promoted Eric Bieniemy to head coach, even though it was a good year. Like, would you be particularly surprised? Because I don't think I would be.
No, I absolutely no. That would be a perfect ideal world.
Right. Like, I think that's the best case scenario for the Commanders is go out, have the offense really show that they can be something special, and then make Bieniemy your head coach. I think that's why they did this. I can't imagine that Bieniemy himself would leave the Kansas City Chiefs, who he just won his second Super Bowl with, to go just be an offensive coordinator at another team with no kind of pathway to becoming a head coach. Like, I think the Commanders sat down and told this guy, if things go well, we're happy to make you the head coach. Because it's such a sideways, backward step for Bieniemy to make if he was just going there to be the offensive coordinator. You know, it's like, why would you do that when you can just keep winning Super Bowls with these guys and maybe go get a direct head coaching job somewhere else? So I think they probably have some backdoor deals with Bieniemy down in Washington of like, hey, man, if this goes good, you know, we got you set up for the future. Now, it's a big if, because no disrespect, but it is the Commanders.
Yep. Yep. And a new era will start sooner rather than later.
I hope so, man. I can't think of any time that the Ravens and the Commanders have been good at the same time. Like, have we ever really seen that where both teams are in the playoffs or both teams are competitive? I feel like it's always like one's good and one's bad, one's good and one's bad. Like, even through history.
2012. That was the long RG3. Y'all won the Super Bowl. I believe we beat y'all that year, and y'all won the Super Bowl. We lost to the Seahawks, and
because Haloti Ngata broke RG3's leg, and then Kirk Cousins came in and ran in a 2-point conversion at the end of the game to win that game.
The Kirk Cousins game, yeah.
I remember that game because we had a friend who was a big Redskins fan at the time at Calvert Hall, where I went to high school here in Baltimore. And he was like, Kirk Cousins just beat y'all. Like, you guys are trash. And then even after we won the Super Bowl, he was like, it doesn't change the fact that Kirk Cousins beat you. Like, y'all are trash. And that was when he was a backup. That was backup Kirk. It wasn't even starter Kirk right now.
Hey, man. We talked about a change. I want to shift for a second from one Baltimore team to another Baltimore team. You've seen the Baltimore Orioles.
Sure.
Do you feel like they peaked too soon? And where do you think they finished this season?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because a lot of people didn't think they were going to be very good last season, right? And then they end up having a really strong second half to the year, finish above 500. We're in the playoff hunt pretty late into the season. But I think that they're on pace right now. I think they're on pace right now. The big question, because they're scoring all kinds of runs, right? I mean, all kinds of runs they've been scoring this season and last season too. The big question is going to be, can they get the pitching right? And I think that a lot of the rule changes are actually going to really benefit the Orioles. And I think we've already seen a lot of that. I mean, the amount of stolen bases they've had to start the season is unprecedented so far. And you just have a batting order of assassins, like straight assassins from top to bottom for the most part. Adley Rutschman, Cedric Mullins, Anthony Santander, Jorge Mateo, Ryan Mountcastle. Like, these guys are straight killers at the plate. And all the new rule changes, at least like the quote unquote important ones, have slanted towards offense, have slanted towards scoring points. So I think that the Orioles are going to benefit a lot from that. I think we're going to see them be a very fun team to watch and a very offensive team. Then they're going to score loads and loads and loads of runs. But the big question is just going to be, can they pitch and can they not blow games because of their pitching like we've seen them do a couple times this season already. But no, I mean, just like the Commanders, it's a good time to be an Orioles fan. It's an exciting time to be an Orioles fan. Probably the most since, I don't know, sometime between like 2014 and 2017 was the last time it was really fun to be an Orioles fan. So, I'm super into it. And I think they have young superstars all over the place that are going to kind of define this team for the next generation. Their biggest issue is the division they play in. Right? They finished last in the AL East last season. Or no, did the Red Sox end up finishing last?
Yeah, Red Sox finished last.
Yeah. So the Orioles barely avoided finishing last in the AL East last year. And for something crazy, like 10 to 12 other divisions, they want to finish third or second, So it's just tough when you're constantly playing the Blue Jays, constantly playing the Yankees, constantly playing the Rays, constantly playing the Red Sox, who are bad right now, but even still, it's still the Red Sox. It's tough to maintain a season when those are your divisional opponents. If they were in pretty much any other division in baseball, I think they would be locks for they'd be locks for the playoffs. But that AL East is a dog to deal with, man. It's
the Rays are 10-0, Gabe. Rays are 10-0. 10-0.
Wow.
10-0.
I think they scored something crazy, like 18 runs.
Yeah, they have like the largest run differential in the history of the live ball era.
So they're straight killers right now. The Yankees are killers. The Blue Jays are always going to be good. The Red Sox are always going to give you problems just because of the Red Sox, So if they can hold their own in the AL East, that's a big statement from the Orioles. Like, that's a very, very big statement that they're on the right path, and I think they are. Mike Elias as the GM, that's the guy who took the Astros from being the laughingstock of the league to consistent World Series champions and contenders. So if he could do it there, come do it in Baltimore too. Just hopefully they can figure everything out with the ownership, which has been pretty complicated lately. But that family, the Angelos family, the owners have always been, an absolute mess. So hopefully that doesn't get in the way too much of what is a very promising project in Baltimore, Camden Yards. They won tonight too, and I'm probably going to go try to see him tomorrow with Grayson Rodriguez making his first start in front of the home fans. And they're giving out these sweet T-shirts. It says "Welcome to the show." It's like these orange T-shirts with white letters, and tickets are like $12. So I'm probably going to head down there and see my first game tomorrow. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, they need to get them damn concessions together. Got new concessions, running out of hot dogs and running out of chicken tenders. I was at opening day, damn it. It was ridiculous.
Really? So I saw something today that they posted, and it said that at certain concessions across the ballpark, they're selling every item on the menu. I don't know if beer is included, but they're selling every item on the menu for $4.10.
Yeah, so certain areas where but they were running out of chicken tenders. Wow. They ran out of hot dogs. It was
opening day, that the traffic there was crazy. The lines were ridiculous. So hopefully that actually continues. You do want to see those concession stand numbers continue to, be busy.
I had a buddy who was there 2 nights ago, I think, or 3 nights ago, whenever they played last before tonight. He said he waited 2 innings to get a beer. and it wasn't even opening day. So, like, I mean, they're getting mobbed, is what it seems like at the concessions, which I guess is a good problem to have. You want to be making money, you want people at the game.
Yeah.
Great. It's a great problem to have.
Yeah. But I mean,
the Yankees were in town, I believe.
and you have the Yankees as well, so that's going to be a big part of it too. But I mean, if I'm somebody who wants to get a drink, that's a bad problem to have. Yeah, exactly. Right now, it's a bad problem to have. But I mean, in summary, I think it's a great time to be an Orioles fan right now. Exciting, young team, got true bona fide stars on the team, which is what you want. You can't ask for too much else other than that, particularly when you're a market like Baltimore and you don't have the money of the Yankees, you don't have the money of the Dodgers, and you've been able to build a team like this. I mean, come on. Yeah. That's all. I just want to be competitive. That's all I want for the Orioles. Just be competitive. Make me want to watch the games, because with baseball, it's so easy to not want to watch the games if your team's bad. It's so easy to just be like, dude, I don't want to spend 3 hours watching this game. But if they're competitive, it's always a good thing. Oh, the O's are playing. Let me turn it on. So they're in that space right now, and that's all I can ask for, and I'm happy with that.
Gabe, how can the people keep up with you, and what do you got going on this week on Two-Way Talk on WEAA?
Yeah, so if you guys want to stay up to date with me, again, you can check out the show Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on 88.9 FM, or you can head over to weaa.org, where we live stream all the shows that we're doing when we're on the air. If you want to follow me, you can check me out on Twitter at Gabe Ortis, spelled exactly the way it sounds, except it's an S instead of a Z at the end of Ortiz. So at Gabe Ortiz, to check out all the stuff that I'm tweeting. I go a little more in depth on all my Lamar takes over there as well. So if you didn't get enough of that tonight somehow, go show me some love over there too. But I would say the best way is just tune into the show. And if you want to call in, 410-319-8888 is the number to call. Maybe we can talk about some of these topics too for anybody out there listening.
Hey, Gabe, again, appreciate you, brother. We're going to have you come back real soon. Give it up for Gabe, everybody.
Awesome stuff, guys. And you guys are very lucky to have Mr. Dre Melton holding it down for you guys. He's got a great head on his shoulders. I don't know how he got the name the Tribal Chief, but I'm just going to assume that he deserves it. I'm going to assume that was a good decision.
Gabe, once again, appreciate you, brother. We'll be listening in, and anytime you need the inmates to run the asylum, Flex Zone will be there when you call.
I'll be giving you guys a call. Don't worry about that. Have a good one, guys. Take care.
All right, thanks again, Gabe.
All right, thanks for doing, Gabe.
Shout out to Gabe.
Good
I know
stuff,
you wanted to
man.
be on the show, so shout out to him. We do have a super chat from Mark. Mark, I did see your super chat, brother. I didn't forget about you. I know you have a request, and we get the people what they want here on the Flex Zone. So while we reset here, let's give Mark what he wanted. He wanted the thing down.
Oh.
Commanders, we fight for RDC. Who are we? The Commanders. Those haters can't stand us. Left hand up.
We had so much fun with that, man.
Yes, we do. Thanks for the super chat, Mark. We always appreciate you, my good brother.
Appreciate you, Mark, as always. Much love.
Give it back. Give it back.
No, don't give it back. Don't give it back. No.
Devontae, don't be upset, brother. Don't be upset, brother. Mark, look, his Kings are in the playoffs for the first time in 35,000 years. I mean, he can say whatever he wants on this show, damn it. The Kings are in the playoffs.
Ravens, what are you doing, man? Oh my gosh, yo.
Oh,
Hey,
you got it, Raven on it too.
Yes.
Man, oh man.
Let's get to it. I want to get you guys' thoughts on the Odell signing. Then we'll get into the playoffs, talk about the play-in, Lakers, all that good stuff. Wide open field. Raj, I want to start with you, brother. How you feeling about Odell, or as D calls him?
Look at that smile.
Odella.
Look at that.
You
Go
smiling,
ahead.
brother?
Give
You
him the
happy-
Magic
you happy
Johnson,
this week, man?
baby.
You happy this week, brother? How you feeling, man?
Bro, I have not been this happy this whole
You
entire.
thought I was trolling when I put that in the chat, didn't you?
I thought you was trolling me, man. I thought it was April Fool's. I was like, come on, man. Don't
Shout
do
out to Rouse, by the way. Rouse actually tipped me off.
Yeah.
And then I did see that, and I woke up, get ready to go to dinner, and I was like, oh, okay.
But no, this is my take on this, man. I'm so happy right now. Now, granted, this is not the same Odell from the New York Giants or even the early Cleveland Browns. He's been hurt for the past 3 years. He's only played 20 games. I understand. I get it. But the way this team was going in this direction from the end of the season well, actually from last year until now has been dreadful. From all the Lamar contract talks, the team being goofy, Lamar doing gyms with Ken. I mean, it's just been awful as a Ravens fan, this whole off season. And I know Engraven is in here. He's been telling us that he thinks Lamar is gone. He might not come back. And, Nitro was being, very negative with the Ravens as well. And a lot of other Ravens content creators was telling you, like, look, this might be it. He might be out the door. To all of a sudden on Sunday, we get this surprise news that Odell Beckham Jr. has actually signed to the Baltimore Ravens. Hit that air horn again real quick, Byron. Hit it. Oh, happy damn day. That's right. Happy day. Holy shit. That's exactly what I said. I was like, praise Jesus.
Hey,
because
Rod,
you know what, man?
This is what I felt like.
Do you want to know what makes Daddy Magic's nipples hard?
Yes, do you want to know what makes his nipples hard? Odell signing. That's what makes his nipples hard, baby. So I was very happy, man. I'm ecstatic, God damn it. I mean, now granted, he might not be the same player. He might be less than himself. And that's fine with me. As long as Lamar Jackson is here next year, that's all I really, really, really care about. And if they can find a way to, for Todd Monk, if Todd Monk can actually implement this offense and have Lamar looking good as a passer, more consistent than what he was with Greg Roman. That's all I can. That's all I ask for. That's all I ask for. Because we've been, as Ravens fans, we want to see what Lamar can do with a legitimate offense. We want to see what he can do with his arm, with a legitimate passing scheme. And we want to see what he can do with weapons. That's all we ask for. And they finally starting to get it through their freaking heads. Like, look, just sign people, sign some good receivers, get the team right, treat your fan base correctly. And we will be back, in the stadiums at M&T Bank, cheering for Lamar, cheering for Odell, cheering for whoever else comes in, through the draft. And Sunday was a resurrection great day. It was Resurrection Sunday because it resurrected the Ravens in a good, positive way. So yes, this Odell Beckham signing has got me hyped. And I don't give a damn what Q has to say. I know he was being goofy earlier today. I don't give a damn about that.
He still doesn't even have Aaron Rodgers, so who's really goofy?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Dre, real quick,
Dre.
If the Ravens win a Super Bowl, you dyeing your dreads blonde like Odell, brother. If they win the Super Bowl, we getting you that on air.
No, we're not doing that. But I mean, well, let me quickly say about Aaron Rodgers. I've always thought that after about June 25th, I think that's when the money kind of dwindles down from the trade. So I think that's when the trade will happen. I don't think it's going to happen before the draft. I think it'll happen after, as far as Aaron Rodgers. But when it comes to Odell, yesterday, like you said, it was Resurrection Sunday, and I swear when that news dropped, that praise and worship lasted for an hour, man. I think the whole church got the Holy Ghost at that point. Wow! You talk about an ascending gift from above. I'm not going to do the whole Michael Irving spew, but
go ahead, crown him like King James. Go ahead, crown him like your boy LeBron did yesterday. Go put the crown on it.
No, you got to do it.
Like crown on Ron.
But I mean, this arguably may be the biggest signing in the history of the Ravens. We've made some trades, before, but it has made some impact. But I don't think anything to this caliber. Like the names that we've listed, such as Steve Smith and Anquan Bolden, Derek Mason. But I mean, to get somebody like OBJ, who was a star, I mean, like this is a superstar not only in the NFL but globally. Everybody knows who Odell Beckham Jr. is. So for us to sign him along with Lamar Jackson, this can open up a lot of doors future wise for the Ravens. Odell, while he's on the tail end, Lamar's entering the peak of his. So I'm really excited as a member of Ravens Nation, and hopefully we can bring back, big trust. Because I would, like I thought Gabe brought up a really good point. That 2019 season, man, was just one of those seasons. It felt like fun, like the 2000 season. So though that team got short of their Super Bowl accomplishment, it felt good that regular season. I mean, we were at different places, Dave and Buster's and Hooters that season, watching the games, and you would just see Mark Ingram up there and he was the one who hyped up the whole big trust and making sure that Lamar secured that MVP season that happened. So I'm really ecstatic when it comes to seeing what can happen now that we got Odell. Of course, the work isn't done. This is only the beginning, but it shows you also the turning of the tides when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens, because an organization has been so used to being on the defensive end and now to focus in on offense when we're seeing that the league is changing to an offensive league. I'm very proud of the Ravens for stepping outside of their comfort zone and being able to make such a splash, and also letting the whole world on notice that the Baltimore Ravens are here, and that we not only can we sign somebody the caliber of Odell Beckham Jr., but we have the blockbuster megastar quarterback, and he's here to stay in Baltimore as well.
Pravante, how you feeling from the outside looking in? You think Odell still got something left in the tank?
Yeah, he probably got a little something left. The biggest thing is the injuries, because we saw the last time we seen him play in the Super Bowl, we saw the good and we saw the bad. So, Odell Beckham, as long as he's been working out and taking care of himself, and I'm sure the Baltimore Ravens they have done their due diligence with checking in on him and his medicals and and all that good stuff. So he's going to bring some excitement to this Baltimore city, this Baltimore market, and maybe this could be the first step into possibly switching the culture, maybe going in a different direction, like Gabe was saying. Because I know the Commanders are doing it, and the Ravens, it looks like, oh gosh, here we go.
Crown.
Anyway, I think. So goofy, yo. Did he turn his camera off for that? Did he turn his camera off to go?
Yes, he did. He turned his camera to get the camera. We got sound effects.
He probably got something left. Is it a lot? I don't know, because that's also the other part is it was only a 1-year deal. He is at the tail end of his he's at the tail end of the prime of his career. Let me say that. So you take the good with the bad. I'm surprised he got $15 million guaranteed though. I am surprised. I'm surprised he got it. 2, I'm surprised it came from the Ravens.
Facts.
The Denny Green. Which one is that? Which one?
You're going to crown him? Then crown that rat.
Oh,
yeah,
I gotta get that.
Yes, that Denny.
Oh man. Yeah. Go to his other comment. Oh wait a minute. The Odell. The one before that one. I'll admit I was one of those guys, man. I almost did it. I almost. Carvante's the one who talked me out of it. I was like, man, I'm thinking about it. And he was like, look, he said, dog, if you do this, I'm gonna cook you up every day.
as they should.
You muted.
No. I'm saying
I thought I was about to say. He said
every day. Yes. Goofy. I'm mad you thought about it.
Well, let
That
us know
was
in
a
the
style
comments.
back then, man.
It wasn't a style. That was just him.
No damn
Vote
style.
on the poll.
I just want to put that comment. I just said it.
That
But
due diligence.
Vote on the poll. Let us know your thoughts on Odell. We got to get to the NBA because the play-in tournament starts tomorrow. Playoffs start this weekend. We know some of the matchups, but the play-in tournament, Dre, your Lakers, they're in the play-in, but they're playing at home. They play the Timberwolves tomorrow. Let me get the schedule
Easy
up here
money.
so I
Easy
get the accurate dates and times. So tomorrow, 7:30 on TNT, we have Atlanta at Miami. That is 7 versus 8. Then we have Minnesota at Los Angeles. That is 10 p.m. on TNT, 7 versus 8. Then Wednesday, Chicago at Toronto on ESPN, and Oklahoma City at New Orleans. So that's a 9-10 matchup on Wednesday. So 7-8 tomorrow, 9-10 on Tuesday. Dre, who advances and makes it to the East and West actual playoffs? Are your Lakers going to make it?
Oh yeah, the Lakers definitely gonna make it. I mean, you've seen the turmoil that's going on right now with the Timberwolves. So I think that honestly, I think that that's a easy win for the Lakers.
now it comes easy with the Lakers.
I think honest. I don't think it's that bad when it comes to when it comes to at least that particular matchup, just because Rudy Gobert and everything that's going on with them. I don't honestly really worry about the Timberwolves. I worry about when they get actually in the meat of the playoffs. The Thunder and the Pelicans. I mean, until I didn't realize that Zion's been out all this time. I thought it was a more serious injury, but they said it's been like a nagging hamstring injury that's kept him out since like January.
You suck.
I'm like, come on, man. Like,
I think he's missed like 160 something games.
Yeah. So at this point, it's and the sad part is they extended him. I'm like,
he worse than Anthony Davis was when he was there.
They're walking. They're goofy.
I mean, this organization, man, just be reaching. So I'm just because of that, I'm hoping just take O'Yeller to the shed. I feel sorry for the rest of the Pelicans team because they are actually a good squad, but that Zion thing just kind of has me just kind of being like, I don't know about this team. So I think I may pick the Thunder for that one. Bulls and the Raptors. That's I think that'll be actually a good matchup, as well as the.
Are we picking? We picking the whole playoffs now? I thought we
just who you think advances in the play-in, like who out of the East
doing
West.
playing now, baby. We got to save that for next week,
right, bro?
Okay. I'm sorry. Tomorrow with the I would love to see the Heat win. It's something about Miami. That squad. I do like Trae Young and the Hawks, but I would pick the Miami Heat to win that particular matchup. And tomorrow the Lakers, I pick them over the Timberwolves.
Yeah, whoever wins the Lakers Timberwolves gets the Grizzlies, and Rudy Gobert is suspended. So go ahead and give the Lakers that win now. Raj, are you confident in your Lakers, brother? I mean, do you want Memphis in the first round, those young guns?
I'm not even gonna lie to you, man. I do want Memphis now after hearing that Steven Adams will be gone.
And no Brandon Clark, I think, also.
And no Brandon Clark, so that's even better. But I am afraid of this Timberwolves team. And the reason why I'm saying this is because without Rudy Gobert, they're a better team. And that's crazy to say that. Without Rudy Gobert, they score more points.
It's not crazy to say because he sucks, yo.
Yeah, yes.
Devontae does not like Gobert.
He's not as good as he once was. But yeah, I mean, they're a better team without Rudy Gobert. So, and there's only one game too, so that's also something to look out for. I'm not sure if Anthony Davis is going to show up because he hasn't really been showing up these last couple of weeks. LeBron James is 38 years old. He played well, yesterday, but tomorrow's a different day. You never know. But if they can win tomorrow and secure the 7th seed, they have a legit shot against this beat up Grizzlies team. So I think they will win. I think it's going to be closer than what you think. I don't think they're going to blow them out or anything like that. They rarely do that. So I think they do win. And I think what's the other matchup?
You have the Pelicans and the OKC, and then the East, Miami, Atlanta, and Toronto, and what is that? Toronto and Chicago.
I think OKC gets the 8th spot. I think the Pelicans missed the playoffs. I think the Lakers get 7th. OKC gets 8th. I think the Heat might get 7th, and I'm not sure who was the other teams.
Bulls and Raptors.
Bulls get 8th.
So basically, they're going to lose to Milwaukee. The winner loses to Milwaukee in 5 or 4.
Yeah, basically.
Go ahead, Cavante.
So yeah, I agree with Raj. You should be wary because Lakers will Laker at some point, but it is just one game.
Yeah, little Laker.
One game take all, right?
Yes.
Oh,
LeBron James and the Hawks.
If the Lakers lose, they gotta play.
Yeah, they still would have one more shot. So whoever loses the 7-8 matchup still has one more game to get in.
Gotcha. Right. So honestly, the Lakers are pretty scary in a one-game matchup. I think they would be a great they would be a great team to go into like a March Madness tournament. But because of the age and the lack of experience with everybody pretty much outside of LeBron and AD, I feel like they're gonna run out of gas at some point. But I do think they get past the Timberwolves. I really like OKC. I'm not sure what it may. Maybe it's the youth. I think if the Grizzlies, if the Grizzlies wasn't so goofy, I like them a little bit more. But I wish OKC. I feel like in time OKC will be the new Grizzlies or the current Grizzlies, whatever. But I really like how they play. They really play carefree, and they actually look like they're having fun out there. It's not a job. It's legit game they're playing. And SGA is a bad dude, man.
And Cavante, don't forget Chet Holmgren. He missed the whole season. He'll be back next year, and they got like 20 first-round picks still.
Exactly. So yeah, I like OKC to move on. I like the Lakers to move on. In the East, I like the Heat, and you said it was the Hawks. Who's the Hawks playing?
The Hawks play the Heat, and then the Bulls have the Raptors. I actually think the Bulls might win personally.
On the fence. That's the only one I'm on the fence.
Yeah,
about.
that Levine. I think Levine and DeRozan in one game. I like them over the Raptors personally. That's just me.
I do too.
I like. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, but like I said, they're going to play Milwaukee. So yeah.
I think the Hawks are just underachievers. That's just how they've always been. They've always been. But yeah, I like the Bulls and the Heat to take the last 2 spots.
Real quick, I mean, we don't have to give predictions. Like I said, we can say that till next week. But fellas, I mean, this has got to be the most wide open season NBA wise when it comes to playoffs. We know that we have the Sixers playing the Nets in the East. Celtics will play, of course, TBD. We'll say Boston probably has the advantage. New York, Cleveland. That's going to be a hell of a series, personally. Golden State, Sacramento. That's going to be crazy in the West. Then Milwaukee gets the 8 seed. Denver gets the 8 seed. Memphis gets the 2 seed. Clippers, Suns. We don't know about Paul George either. Wide open. I mean, you guys don't have to give predictions, but Cavante, I'll start with you, man. How you feeling, man? Is this really wide open? Could we really make a list of 5 or 6 teams that could win it all?
So it's wide open in the West. I will say that because the leader in the West is the Denver Nuggets, and if you check Vegas odds, they got like the 6th, in from top to bottom, they're like number 6 in odds to win the championship. And that's kind of unprecedented for a number 1 seed. But obviously where are the Suns? The Suns are with the 5th.
Suns are the 4th, and then because they have home court. So yeah, Clippers are 5th, Suns are 4th. So they would have home court.
The Suns have the best odds to win the West, but everybody in the West has questions. But also everybody in the West has some positive that you could lean on that would make you believe that they actually have an opportunity to win from the Warriors, even the Grizzlies. But in the East, I think it's a little bit more defined. It's going to come down to the Celtics or the Bucks. I think that's it. That's all. The Sixers are at some point going to run into a wall. And after the Sixers, I mean, we have the Cavaliers. I'm anxious. I really want to see how the Cavaliers play in the playoffs, but I just think it's a huge drop off after the Sixers. But the Sixers are going to find a way to Sixers because James Harden's on that team and Doc Rivers is the head coach. Hate to say it.
Leave Doc Rivers alone.
Can he grow hair?
Oh wow! Here we go with that.
Tell him to go bald for real this time. I might. But it's gonna be the Celtics or the Bucks. I'll be extremely surprised if I don't see the Bucks Celtics Eastern Conference matchup. And honestly, unfortunately, I think whoever come out the West is losing to one of them.
Go ahead, Raj. Let me get you in real quick.
All right, I agree with Cravante. I think in the Western Conference, every team has a chance to win except the Kings because the lack of experience.
Not except the Kings.
No disrespect to them. No disrespect to them. They don't have a chance in hell of winning anything. No disrespect, Mark, but it's just the truth. You know, it's the first time in the playoffs since I was a teenager.
Since y'all was at Mervo.
There. You know, yes, we were still. Well, no, we was out of Mervo.
Okay.
You was an adult. Rod.
No, I was a teenager.
Right.
I was a teenager when they made the playoffs. This is
Don't.
a fact. This is
You
a fact.
adult paying
You said
taxes.
2006,
Stop.
right? I was 19. That's
You
a
was paying
fact.
taxes, brother.
Shut up. Damn it. Shut up. But I think the Nuggets have a chance. The Suns have a chance. The Lakers have a chance. Even the terrible Grizzlies who are lacking the backcourt has a chance. Yeah, there's plenty of teams in the West that have a chance of making it all the way. And it's very, very wide open. In the East, Milwaukee, Boston, the Sixers, all three of those teams are in the mix to making it far, pretty far in the playoffs, as always. But yeah, it's going to come down to the Bucks or Sixers. I mean, the Bucks or Celtics. So, yeah, it looks wide open in the East or the West. It looks wide open, but I don't know, man. I still think the Nuggets have a great chance of making it, far, to the championship, and I think the Celtics or the Bucks can make it to the championship. So if the Nuggets can stay healthy, I think they got it. But I'm still hoping for my Lakers to do something. But just the way that they look, they're just.
They look bad.
They look good at times, and then other times they look their age. Look, like Braun looks his age sometimes, and Anthony Davis looks his skin color. No offense, Byron.
Wow.
That's just what it is.
Go ahead.
But I'm done.
Go ahead,
Trey. Like, how do you follow that up? Look. When it comes down to the Los Angeles Lakers, for certain, I think they have a chance to legitimately win it all. If it depends on a lot, but they do have. Honestly, this team is in a lot better position than what they were earlier. I feel like in the West, on paper you're going to say the Phoenix Suns, but then again, it's like has Kevin Durant, Booker, and Chris Paul had enough time to really gel to get that chemistry going? I don't think so. So I'm not really sold on them. And like Cravante said earlier, in the East, honestly, if I had to pick one team, I'm going to roll with the Bucks. They just look like they're on a mission to get it done again. Boston, I know Boston. If Boston had kept Ndoku, then I would have said I would have probably favored them. But I'm gonna say the Bucks, and then like you guys say, the West is kind of wide open right now because anybody can get it. I mean, Denver, you're not really sold on them. I said Phoenix just to me just hasn't had enough time to gel. Clippers are gonna just clipper. So that's just my thoughts on it right now. But I mean, and then I mean, same thing. I could go with MVP right now. I mean, we went from definitively saying it was Joker for a three-peat to now Embiid is pushing his way to finally getting an MVP. So I mean, right now it's kind of wide open across league wide, and these are the things that you like when you're entering the playoffs. I don't think that in sports we definitively want to say like, oh, hey, this team is the favorite, and they actually do it. No, it's sports. Make it even keel. We don't know who's gonna go, and whoever does make it will be happy once they do.
We'll talk more matchups next week when we actually get everything lined up after the play-in. But let us know. We'll get more videos, more content throughout the week. Obviously, breaking down what's going to be happening, as it is a busy time with the NBA. And best time of the year. We got baseball, we got NBA, and NFL heating up with the draft as well.
And we
Cravante,
got player profiles coming too.
yes, a lot of things coming up here on the channel. Cravante, you ready to get goofy so we can get out of here?
Hey,
Sir. Yes, sir. Let's jump into it.
Without further ado, it's time for Cravante's Goofies of the Week.
Gosh, something wrong here.
I'm so glad the brother Goofy was able to. Yeah, I don't know when he comes, but he makes an appearance, and it's always at the right time. Um, so I got quite a bit going on for Goofies of the Week. This go round. So first things first, welcome to Goofies of the Week, sponsored by the Flex Zone. Appreciate you guys for giving me a little bit of time to let me tell the world what I thought was goofy this week, and it was actually a lot. I have two levels of goofiness. We have green, and it's funny we talked about the Jets earlier because that's my jet green. That's the jet green color because they are a very goofy organization, and it's funny because they're in talks with another green goofy Packers organization, and this whole Aaron Rodgers debacle at this point. But that's my low level goofy. Usually laugh, we joke, we kiki, and is in the hopes that it does not become bigger than the original goofy in which it was, which was the funny, and we just laugh about it. We laugh, we joke. But if it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows into the higher level of goofiness, which is the level red, the cardinal sin red level goofiness, that's when we have to congregate and get together and we got to talk about this because something has gone too far. Something or someone is running amok and they have to be stopped. So I have quite a few this evening. I'm gonna try to not hold you guys too much longer, but I actually have a low level goofy for this particular week. And yes, again, that's Jet Green or Packer Green, or should I say Draymond Green? Yes. Draymond is involved in this goofy, but it's not so much him. It's something he did because Draymond Green is ultra petty. So, if for those of y'all that are not aware, Byron and Dre and all of us were talking about earlier, the Timberwolves are effing up at the wrong time. Rudy Gobert was got into a little scuffle with with one of his teammates, Kyle Anderson. Oh snap! There it is, right there. God damn, there it is, right there. And Rudy Gobert is about 7 feet 7'1", so his wingspan is crazy. You see how many people he actually his hand got through to hit Kyle Anderson. So there was some type of dispute. They had a disagreement. They had words, and Rudy Gobert struck Kyle Anderson. But if we go back, maybe about 6 months ago, when the season had just when the season kicked off, we all remember, and if you guys don't, I'll remind you. Draymond Green actually got into I can't even say got into a fight because it was he more so
What's this damn teammate, didn't he?
got into a disagreement with Jordan Poole at practice where he hauled off and hit Jordan Poole in his Jordan Poole. He hit him in his grill, and yeah, it was really, 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 really ugly. Unfortunately, it was in practice, and somebody filmed it and leaked it. But Rudy Gobert tweeted, "Insecurity is always loud." When after the situation with Draymond Green and Jordan Poole got out to the masses, and Rudy Gobert of all people took it to Twitter saying that that quote of again, insecurity is always loud. So when this happened in front of everybody, and when Rudy Gobert Kyle Anderson, Draymond Green could not wait. He probably couldn't get to his phone or his computer fast enough because he then tweeted, "Insecurity is always loud," and it's just funny because Draymond Green is probably one of the pettier dudes that we know in basketball, and of all people, thinking back, I didn't even know Rudy Gobert said anything when the Draymond Green incident happened until this came up, and come to find out that there's a whole backstory behind it. But all in all, to keep it short, Draymond Green is probably the pettiest person in basketball. Probably one of the pettier stars in basketball, and he could not wait to get some get back at Rudy Gobert. Now, situations weren't completely the same, but they were similar, and Draymond Green is not going to miss the opportunity to be petty, especially to Rudy go Goofy Bird. Now, next up, I have two. Both of them are of the high level Goofy variety. I'm gonna keep it in the NBA. Then I'll go to the last one. So for those of y'all again not aware, the Dallas Mavericks missed the playoffs. Like missed the playoffs completely. Like completely missed the playoffs. So it is rumored that they tanked. Well, allegedly they tanked. It looked like they tanked. It smelled like they tanked. So they probably tanked. It's unfortunate because they did the quote unquote all in trade to get Kyrie Irving, who is a star in this league and a great number two, because we all know he's not a number one. And they go on to have a losing record. I want to say they were 9-17 or something like that to finish. So they were in, I want to say, fourth place, if I'm not mistaken, before the Kyrie trade, or when the Kyrie trade happened, to all the way to the 11th place. They're not even competing in the play-in or nothing. They're just all the way out. And in this last ordeal, last game that they threw, I didn't know this, but by missing the postseason, the Mavericks kept their first round pick in the 2023 NBA draft, which was a top 10 protected pick after the whole the trade with the New York Knicks. And I did not know about that at all, because it's absolutely goofy for you to say that, oh, we want to compete. And then the second, well, not even the second, I guess it was only about 20, 25 games or so. And then you turn the switch on, then you immediately turn the switch off and say, all right, well, we're sitting everybody. Kyrie, you're sitting, and Luke, Luka, you're gonna play a quarter, which I know that absolutely sucked for bettors because what the hell? So anybody who took Luka Doncic's overs probably lost. Well, I don't know if your sports book would have given you the money back for that, but yeah. So not only did you mess up the integrity of the NBA, you messed up a lot of people's bets in Vegas, brother. But the Dallas Mavericks are absolutely embarrassing. Yes, Raj, absolutely an embarrassment. Just when I thought they were going in the right direction and things were looking up, they go on, mess things up, and bring on Kyrie Irving. Now, granted, I'm not saying this is Kyrie Irving's fault. This is absolutely a Dallas, a poorly run Dallas Maverick organization. With this, they have a superstar, and the one thing you're supposed to have, well, you want to have when you have that bona fide superstar, is get him a number 2. But you can't just get him any number 2. You have to get him a number 2 that's going to absolutely complement what he does. Not do the same exact things that he does. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, that's what Kyrie Irving was. Nobody's playing defense. They are giving up points at a alarming rate, and Kyrie just looks good going to the hoop doing his different layup packages. That's all that was going on, and they lost. They had an under 500 record, losing. I want to say the record was 9-17, which is absolutely absurd if you have 2 superstars on your team. Should not happen. Mark Cuban, this is a knock. This is a knock. And you're one of the few owners that I actually like. But for you to allow this to happen under your nose, not good. Not good. And definitely of the high level goofy variety. But last but not least, we're gonna move on to the last goofy of the night. And yes, I have 3. I know it's been a while that I've had this many, but these all had to get talked about. For those of y'all that are big on basketball as a whole, men's and women's, the LSU Tigers, Lady Tigers of the LSU Lady Tigers won the NCAA tournament on the women's bracket. Yes, absolutely great. Kudos to them. They were not the favorites. They've been doubted all year, and they pulled through. Absolutely amazing. They beat the Ohio, the Iowa team led by OCC Caitlin Clark, who is the Steph Curry of women's basketball right now. And there was some chirping going around, and I talked about it last week, but there was something extra that happened from our last show to this show. First lady. Now, again, no, guys, not Michelle Obama. She's been gone for a little bit. Joe Biden's in office right now. His wife, Jill Biden, chose to open her mouth and tell the people of America that she thought it was so good. The championship game between Iowa and LSU was so good that, you know what? I want LSU and I want Iowa to come visit at the White House. Jill, shut it up. First Lady Jill, shut it up. That is not how this works. The winners go. The champions go. Now, Jill, I hate to turn this into a race thing. Michelle's is the only first lady I acknowledge. Me too, Mark. Me too. But this one is in the seat, so what have you. She chose to say those words, knowing damn well that's not how this works. The champions of each sport get an invitation and visit the White House as part of them, part of their congratulations of winning whatever trophy, whatever championship they're in. And she just thought it was cool to say, hey, let's bring Iowa in. Now, LSU has some had some girls on the team, some African American girls who really who know how to hoop. They do that. Led by Angel Reese, who happens to be from Baltimore. She went to St. Francis a couple years back. I want to say she was the number 2 girl, the number 2 rated player in the country when she was recruited at Berlin. And Iowa had a lot of white girls, had a lot of young ladies of the Caucasian variety, and from the mountains of Caucasus. And I'd hate to think that this was a race thing, because I feel like if Iowa would have won, I don't think she would have extended the invitation to LSU. I don't think so. And Reese was Miss Angel Reese. She's been on a tour now, guys. I don't know if y'all noticed. She's been all over since LSU's won the championship. She's been on podcasts. The WNBA draft was this evening, and she was there. Her and Miss Johnson, I believe, Flage Johnson, I believe her name is, another young lady who played big time in the tournament and in the championship game. And she was like, no, if this goes down, like we don't want to go, we don't want to come. And I completely stand by her. How dare you break the tradition when you feel like it for whatever reasons. I think it's a racial thing, but it is what it is. But don't belittle what the LSU Tigers accomplished by bringing on Iowa. And shout out to Caitlin Clark for backing that up, saying, hey, they won. They deserve that. Let them have that. Maybe we could come, or I can go at a different time, but let them have, this is their moment. And also backing up Angel Reese for her beliefs and how she feels about that. And that there was no beef between them two. It's just competitors being competitors, which is great. But things have calmed down. Things have cooled off a little bit. Angel Reese had, had other thoughts. I'm sure Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, had to smooth things over. He called them and said, hey, y'all can come. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be all good. And Reese have come out and said that, I've rethought this. I was upset at first, but now I will attend with my LSU championship winning team, which I appreciate her for having changed her heart. But one way or another, I get it. I absolutely get it. Y'all deserve the respect of winners, and it should not be shared with nobody else. So those were my goofies of the week. My high level goofies are Jill Biden opening her mouth and sounding just as goofy as she want to look. I mean, sound as goofy as she want to sound, not how she want to look. The Dallas Mavericks completely botching the Kyrie Irving trade and missing the playoffs completely, dropping from 4th seed to the 11th seed and not even in the play-in tournament. And last but not least, Draymond Green and Rudy Gobert being goofy, hitting their teammates, and being weird. One more thing. Ryan Clark actually said something, and that's the one of the hosts of the Pivot podcast. It's weird nowadays because teams are fighting each other. Players are fighting other players from their own team as opposed to the other team. So it's very, very weird times. But y'all know my line. There's a thin line between goofy and great, and all these people are on the wrong end of things. Wrong side. Got to do better. Got to do better.
Oh, gosh. Something wrong here.
Thank you for that goofy of the week.
Man, I always loved it, man.
Yes, if you got something goofy, let us know. We'll be sure to talk about it here on the show. And as we wrap up episode 389, got to give it up one more time for the good brother, friend of the program, Gabe Ortiz, again, blessing us today. Check him out on WEAA at Two-Way Talk. You might even hear Drizzy Dre on there as well and hear his takes or have him produce the show also as well. Drizzy Dre, 390 coming next week, episode 390. That is, what can the people expect?
And another friend of the show, our great buddy Ralph, is coming on as we inch closer and closer to the NFL draft. So we'll see those Vegas odds, and of course his take on everything from WrestleMania to the NFL draft to the NBA playoffs. So anxious to see our good friend on the show next week.
Yes, sir. Big Raj, what can the people expect on the YouTube this coming week?
You can expect AW Dynamite on Wednesday. Look out for some more Ravens news. We might have some more Ravens news coming soon.
Fingers crossed.
Also, we got to do these draft specials, fellas. So y'all got to get together and put them through, because we have plenty to talk about. The draft is 17 days away, I believe, or 16 days now.
Yeah,
so,
speaking of one,
we're gonna get on that. I think that's it for this week. That's not the NBA playoffs start, I think, this weekend, so might get a couple updates on that as well. So we'll see. But we got plenty of stuff to talk about, plenty of things going on. Pretty sure there'll be some Orioles talk as well. So just stay tuned.
Got an Orioles post-game show at some point this week. I'm gonna go into the film room. Gonna watch some film on Odell. I'll do a video for you guys. What can you expect from him in 12-month system? So I'll look at some of the plays from maybe 2019 when he was with the Browns and what he did with the Rams also, and break it all down for you. And as always, content on the channel, as always, here on the Flex Zone podcast. Cavante, like you said, draft profiles coming soon, and we're waiting on to see what happens with the Commanders.
Let's do it.
Show is executive produced by Andre Miller, senior producer Cavante Hurd, social media producer Big Raj. Shout out to, once again, our guests for the evening, Gabe Ortiz, again next week, episode 390. Ralph Esperanza will be here with the odds and much more. God's favorite host, FlexZone1 at gmail.com, FlexZone1 Twitter, the Cash App, FlexZone Podcast on TikTok. Mark, appreciate the super chat love. Everybody in the chat, all the love, all the support, tuning in and watching us tonight. You'll see us on the channel. Hit the bell, hit the like button if you haven't already. And we'll see you guys next week for episode 390 and throughout the week on the channel for more content. For Raj, for Cavante, for Dre, Flex Zone Podcast, only place giving you sports. How you want to fellas?
When you need it.
Until next time, y'all. Peace.
Peace. We're the ones always.
All right, Mark. We'll see.